everyone, my name is Ashley Guerrero. In case you are new here, I am a 4th grade teacher here in North Texas. I have my master's in educational technology and leadership, and I'm actually pursuing a second master's in library sciences. I am working to become an MRS inside of my district, which stands for a media resource specialist, which basically kind of think tech coach and librarian combined into one role. I love to share technology tips and tricks on social media and offer free resources to teachers all around the world. And recently I had posted a virtual museum. I posted about it on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, and it got such a wonderful response. And there was quite a few people who actually wanted to know how they could create something similar on their own. And I thought this was the perfect segue into showing you all the limitless possibilities that you can do with Google Slides. I'm talking choose your own adventure, a digital breakout. The possibilities truly are limitless with what you could do with Google Slides. And basically, the secret to it all, are you ready? It's just hyperlinking. That's it. And a lot of it, once you've designed one slide, designing the rest is easier. And I'll walk you through every step of the way as far as designing a virtual museum, but I hope that you can gain some insight and some knowledge, even if a museum is not what you're wanting to design. I hope that you can take away some key points or some key takeaways and apply it to your next Google Slides adventure. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you are notified every time I post a new video. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you have any questions whatsoever with Google Slides or hyperlinking, leave them in the comments below and I will try my very best to respond as soon as I can. So without further ado, let's get started.
Hello everyone, I am going to be showing you today how you can create this virtual museum. I posted this the other day on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram as a free template, and everyone who commented on it or retweeted it, they really enjoyed it and liked it, and they also wanted to know how they could create something similar. So that is what I'm going to be doing in today's video, is showing you how I created this and just some tips and tricks to use when you are using Google Slides. So if you haven't seen what this looks like, basically when you're in present mode, it looks like you're inside of an actual museum, and each room that you click on takes you inside of the room. And then you can click on any of the 3 canvases that are on the walls, and it takes you into another slide that gives you information about that artifact. And then you can return to the room and click on the other one, so on and so forth. And then you can also return to the museum. And then you can do the same for all the different rooms. And then the office's little letterboard is also hyperlinked. And this is where your students could add their information, their group name, and even a picture of their group. And then I also just had this fun little museum rules right here on the left-hand side. If you want a copy of this template, I will put the link in the description box below. But there are so many different ways you could use a template like this. You could have students obviously do it for a group project, maybe assign a group of students to each room, or if there was, let's say, a particular thing your students were researching, they could break these rooms up into the various parts. So maybe if it was the regions of Texas, room 1 could be all about what the weather is like in the specific region. Let's say you assigned them just the coastal plains region. Room 1 would be all about the weather there. Room 2 could be about animals that's found in that region, so on and so forth. Or you could also even use it yourself to showcase a lesson and guide students through a lesson that way. Some art teachers were saying they could have used it as a virtual art show. So there's so many different possibilities that you could use with a template such as this. All right, so we are going to design something similar from scratch. So you'll just want to make sure you're inside of your Google Drive, and then you'll click on New and then Google Slides. And then I like to go ahead and just delete these text boxes out of the way. And then I close out of the themes suggestions on the right-hand side. And then I am going to go to Pixabay. Pixabay is a website where you can get free images to use anywhere. So I'm just going to search for wooden floor, or let's just say wooden background. Let's see what pops up. So actually, I am going to search for concrete because I feel like the wood that I used in my template, I purchased, and I'm trying to make this as cheap as possible for you guys, and I don't want you to have to go out and buy in order to design. So I'm trying to show you ways that you could do it for free. So I just searched for concrete, and I'm going to use this one, and then I'm going to download it. Download again. Then click download. All right, and then I'm going to insert the image. I'm just dragging and dropping it into Google Slides. And the first thing you're going to want to do is I'm resizing this just a little bit. Then I'm going to click on crop image, and I'm going to bring this black bar down just a little bit, and then unselect it, move it down just a little bit. And then I am going to insert that image again, and I'm going to resize it like I did earlier. But now I am going to click on crop image, and then I'm going to click on mask, shapes, and then I'm going to click on this one right here, this trapezoid. All right, and then I'm going to unselect the crop, and I'm going to bring in this top little arrow that's kind of making it narrow, more narrow. So let me move this up just a little bit, and let's kind of look at our other one for reference, our floor. I'd say maybe a little bit more. And you could even bring that down like that if you wanted to, and then bring that up. It's a lot of just kind of playing around and seeing how you like it. There's no really rhyme or reason to it, other than kind of judging it based off your eyes and what looks good. What you're trying to make it look as realistic as possible. All right, so now let's do the walls. So I like to start with a rectangle, and then I'm just going to make a rectangle just like that. And again, I'm just looking at my other one for reference. I can make it a little bit taller because this up here is going to be your ceiling space. And then maybe bring that up just a little bit. All right, and then you can fill your wall color with whatever color you think looks best. And then, so let's say if we are doing white walls, I like to make the border just a little darker so it kind of has that natural looking seam where it doesn't look so stark. Like if you were to do a black line, it wouldn't look realistic. All right, so let's do this one right here. And you can do the same process for the walls. So let's say you wanted, let's do wall texture. Let's say you wanted the wall to look realistic. You could totally add in the bricks and make your walls that way. So how you would do that, let's just do a download. And then I'm going to insert those bricks again. And then I am going to go to crop, and I'm going to bring that in. Let's do like right there. And then I am going to resize it. So now you have more of a brick wall than just a plain white wall. And you would repeat the steps for the rest of the process that we're about to do. So let me set this one. Let's do one white wall and one brick wall along the way. All right, so now that those are the exact same size, there we go. All right, so now you're gonna want to add in your side walls, which are right here. So again, you're just gonna go to Insert, Shape, and we're gonna do a trapezoid again. So I'm just gonna kind of click and drag, but this time we're gonna turn it. So turn it this way to the right. And then you want to try to line up your walls as much as possible. And then you're going to bring that in. You may have to do a little bit of playing around and adjusting. Oh, that's now like a triangle. I think I did my floor too long. So let's kind of move that in a little bit, and we'll do it like that. So you kind of see, you'll just make some adjustments along the way. It's all right if you don't get it perfect the first time. so much of this is just playing around and seeing what you like and what works for you. All right, so now I'm going to make this white again with the, I think I did, I did the fourth one. With the outline being just a little bit darker. So you can kind of see how this is starting to turn into a wall. And then same thing for this one. I'm going to insert the bricks again. And then I'm going to go to mask shape. And then I'm going to make it the trapezoid. And then I'm going to turn. So let me line that up, and then I'm actually, so I double clicked on this. You see how the bricks are turned sideways? I'm actually going to rotate the actual brick image, so it's not rotating the shape, our trapezoid. It's just rotating the bricks, so that way the bricks are right side up. Let me bring this in. I'm just using my arrows to press over. And then resizing that again. I'm trying to make the bricks about the same size as the ones on the front wall. All right, let's see what that looks like. Okay, oh, I don't think we added an outline to these. These I'm probably gonna do black. And you may wanna adjust like the width and stuff like that. Again, depending on the texture that you have. Like I may do thicker for these bricks so that the walls really stand out and whatnot. All right, and one thing that I like to do as well, kind of look over here to the left, because I feel like that gives you more of a perspective than what just looking at your main screen does as well. Because like at first I was thinking this doesn't look too realistic, but then when I look over here, it does. So that's just another tip. Make sure you're looking over to the left. All right, then you can insert, I just inserted a square right here. So again, you can do it white or whatever color you're wanting to, or you can match the whole brick theme if that's what you're wanting to do as well. And I'm actually going to go ahead and delete these bricks in just a moment, because once you have one side designed, the other side, it's pretty simple. What I did was I selected this one and then I held down shift and selected the other, and then I'm going to go to arrange and then group. Now I'm going to press Command C or Control C on your keyboard to copy, and then Command V as in Victor or Control V on your keyboard to paste it. And then I'm just going to rotate it and slide it over to match the other side. And so now we kind of have our walls and all of that. And actually, I think we need to scoot these over just a little bit. That's why I like to go off the edge just a little bit to make sure that I have the wall completely covered. And I also like to present and look at it this way, because now you can tell it really does look like a room. All right, so now I need to adjust this. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit, maybe narrow it in some. Raise this one up just a little bit. All right, and so then obviously up there is going to be where our ceiling space is. And so then I just added this little drop down sign. And how you can do that is you just go to shapes and then another square. We do a lot of rectangles and squares. And then I'm just going to change the width, or let's see, leave it as at black, and then we'll do 4 pixels as the width, and then transparent or white, or again, whatever color you would like. I'm just going to slide it down some, and then I'm going to go to insert line, and then I'm just going to drag my line down. I'll make it like 4 pixels, make it black. And I'm going to put that one there. And you see how they're in front of the sign right now? All you need to do is click on the sign, and then you can either right click and do order and bring to front, or you can do arrange, order, bring to front. All right, and so then this is where you can add your text box and type here, but I'm actually not going to do anything to this just yet because I'm going to show you a way that I make it sort of as a background so that students can't mess with these walls and things like that. Because after you spend some time designing this, you don't want them to mess it up. So first, let me show you how you add these doors in these rooms. So if you notice, when you click on the rooms, this is just a rectangle that I added on top of this, but you can't actually edit any of that text or walls or anything like that. So let me show you how you do that. So you're going to go to Insert, Shape, and then another rectangle. And then basically you're going to want to size it like so. And then change. So I'll probably do, oh, that was already the color. Maybe I'll do this one so that way it looks like it's the inside of the wall. And you can also obviously adjust the color as well. Like you don't have to use those ones. Like I can make it even a little bit lighter to where it's not completely white, but all right. And then I'm going to do transparent. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Transparent for the outline is what I meant to do. All right, so now we want to add the floor. So we are going to reinsert that concrete that we used earlier. Let me zoom out. And then we're going to select it, and then we're going to go to Mask, Shape, and then we're going to do this right triangle. Then we're going to turn our triangle this way. I'm going to bring that side up just a little bit. And don't worry, the concrete's kind of looking a little distorted right now, but we will fix it in just a moment once we get this sized appropriately. All right, let me zoom in now just a little bit. All right, so now you'll want to kind of line those up and bring this edge out. So you kind of see how it's distorting just a little bit. It's okay, no need to worry. Let me turn this just a little bit. Actually, no, let's leave it straight like that. All right, so to kind of reduce this blurriness, what you'll do, let me zoom back out, double click, and then you'll want to make sure you're not on this one. Make sure your arrow is out as far as it can go. And you're basically resizing the concrete behind that image. So I'm just making it a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to bring it down to where there is some texture that's being shown. All right, so now let me zoom in so you can kind of see. So now it's not as like kind of blurry, and you can still see some of the texture. And so that's kind of what our objective was by resizing the concrete behind it, was to give it a little bit more of that texture back. So now let me go back to fit. So now you can kind of see it looks like the concrete naturally leads inside of this room right here, which is pretty cool. So now that you've kind of done that hard work for that one, again, you can go to Arrange and then Group. And then you can do Command C or Copy, and then Command V or Paste. And then again, I kind of like to zoom in. I also like to drag these speaker notes down so they're not as much in my way, because I don't really need them right now. And then I'm just going to resize this. Oops, that was a little too much. And adjust kind of the height and such. I may need to do the width as well, just a little bit. And then again, like I said, I like to look over here on the left, and then also kind of like to just zoom out and zoom back in and just kind of see if that looks realistic enough. All right, so now you have both of those done. So again, you can do Command C for this one, and then Command V. And then I just like to go to, and actually I think I could do both of them at the same time. Let's see. Command C, Command V. And then I'm going to go to Format Options. Actually, I'm going to go to Arrange, Rotate, Flip horizontally, bam. And then I can line them up that way. There we go. So like I said, most of the time, once you get one thing done, it's pretty easy to just copy and paste it. You may just have to flip it or rotate it to get it to fit the other, or resize it to get it to fit the other side. All right, so now you have your room. So if we go to present, here is kind of your base, your first museum, or your first slide of your museum. So I'm going to show you really quickly now how you can add a letterboard or a sign right here. Obviously you can add shapes and just make a simple sign. But if you do want to do kind of like a faux letterboard, I'll show you how to do that. So again, I like to zoom in, and then I'm going to go to Insert, Shape, and then a rectangle. And then let's make it like this big. That's good. And then I'm going to do fill color black. And let's do, did I do an outline color? Yeah, let's do white. And then we can make the, even though it's on a white wall, so white probably isn't the best choice. So let's do like a gray. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so now we're gonna zoom in just a little bit more. Again, here comes the copy and paste feature, and I'm also gonna show you another trick as well. So we're going to insert a line. Oops. And then we're just going to start, let's say right here. And then I'm just going to hold down Shift and drag. When you hold down Shift, it makes the line even, so you don't have to worry about it being straight or whatnot. And then I'm just going to make sure this is, I'm holding down Shift as I'm doing this as well, just to make sure I keep the straightness of the line. And I have terrible eyes, so I have to keep zooming in to make sure. And it doesn't help that I'm working on a 13-inch laptop as well. You may have a really big monitor that helps you. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not like your kids are zooming, or whoever is using this is going to be zooming into 200% to make sure that you have the line perfect. Oops. And like I said as well, once you have one the way you like it, it's going to be easy to do the rest. So let me go back to 50%. Oh, nope, that's way too small. Let's go to 100%. No, let's go a little bit more. All right, so I am going to, and actually I want the background of this to be just a, nope, that's too gray. So I'm going to go to custom. I want it to be like that dark. And then the lines are going to be the darker, the black. Yeah, that looks good. So let me do, nope, that's too big. That's about good. And I even may want to make this just a little bit darker. You can be as picky or as non-picky with this as you want. So again, I like to zoom out and kind of see how that's looking. Yeah, that looks good. So now I'm just going to copy and paste this a bunch of times. And then once you get like 3, oops, you can copy those 3. And it's okay that they're not perfectly lined up right now. I'm going to show you a way around that. Maybe one more. Perfect. All right, so the way around getting these perfectly lined up, you're going to select the first one, and I bet we could move it up just a little bit. And I'm holding down Shift and the arrow keys to move it in smaller increments instead of the massive ones. So now I'm just going through and I'm selecting each of these lines. Oops. And see, I accidentally clicked on that square back there. Just click on it again to deselect it. All right, so now you're gonna wanna go to Arrange, Distribute, and Distribute Vertically. Isn't that amazing? It just evenly spaced out all of those lines for you. And then you can also go to Arrange and then Align and then Center, just to make sure that they're all, like, one's not a little bit more to the left. One line isn't a little bit more to the left than another line. All right, and then I like to group those lines after I do that while they're still selected. So then I'll go to Group. Let me make sure. Okay. So now it looks like a letterboard. How stinking cool. So you can zoom out just a little bit. See how realistic does that look? I love it. And then now you can add your text on top of that. So I just drag a text box over. And then I'm going to use white font because it's obviously a letterboard. And then I'm going to use the font Graduate. So if you go to your fonts and then click More Fonts, you can search for GRAD and Graduate will pop up, and then click OK. Because to me, this looks as close to the letterboard style as you can get. And so now you can start typing. So let's make that smaller. And you can type whatever you want right here. Obviously in that other one I did museum rules. But again, you can type whatever you would like. When you type the number 1 and then hit space, if you don't want it to do that, you want to keep your numbers all to the left, just hit backspace and it'll unformat that for you. All right, so then you get that how you would like it, and then do the same thing for the office over here. So I just like to, I kind of zoom in a little bit so I can make sure I'm selecting all of it. Let me slide over. So the text box, the lines, the text box, the lines, and then the shape. And then you can go to Form or Arrange and group those as well. So that way when you're copying, you make sure you get all of it. Press Command C and then Command V and slide it over this way. And then you can add, let me zoom back in over there. I like to resize this a little bit. So that's the text box. Whoa. So let me raise the text box up some. And so now you're just resizing the background, so like the felt part of the letterboard, so to speak. And you can obviously resize it how big or how small you want. And then you'll just need to delete the lines, oops, that are not in the box. So I'm just holding down Shift and selecting those lines. If you're having a hard time doing it, you may need to ungroup them. And like, see the text box right here is in the way. So it may just be something you need to ungroup. So I'm going to go to Format, or actually, sorry, Arrange, Ungroup. Make sure I'm on the text box. So here's the text box. How many times can you say box? And now I'm going to ungroup. No, I don't have to ungroup those. It was just the text box getting in the way. So just keep deleting. There you go. So now you have a smaller, again, use the arrow keys to kind of shift. Now you have a smaller letterboard that you can work with. All right, so now I'm going to zoom out. And there we go. So here is my piece of advice. Once you get, let me move this down some. Once you get this how you like it, so I'm just bringing these over a little bit, and make sure you click present as well so you can kind of see what it looks like. Once you get that how you would like it, I then suggest that you go to File, Download, and then save it as a JPEG. And I also suggest, so make this one your editable virtual museum, and then make a copy of the entire presentation, and then you can either name it non-editable or whatever you would like to call it. It's going to be the one where you're uploading the image as the background. This one is obviously the one where you're going to be able to tweak and change and adjust. And then this one, what we're going to do, let me zoom out just a little bit. I keep saying zoom out and I zoom in. Click on my arrow so I can select. And then I'm going to go to background, choose image. Oh, I don't really have to browse. I can just drag and drop. Done. All right, and there is the background. So now students cannot mess with these actual images. You can see I'm clicking on all of it and it's not moving. And so your workaround around that is to just add a text box and type the various things that you would like on there. So if you want it to say room 1 or room 2, so on and so forth, room 3. Oh, I forgot to add the room back there. But you get the it's the same process of adding the other rooms. I just realized that. I'll do it really quickly. Sorry. So you would just go to shape. Actually, I'm just going to copy just this shape. So I'm going to do Command C, Command V. And I'm going to resize it right there. And then you can copy this one. And then I'm going to resize it. Bring it down just a little bit. There we go. And then zoom back out. And that's essentially what that one looked like. Actually, it's probably a little too... So this is why I encourage you to have an editable version, because if you were to just delete all of that and upload it as the background, that would have been so frustrating to have to redesign all of it. So then bring this back down a little bit. Let me look at my other one. Yeah, there we go. And now let me zoom out. Zoom out again. There we go. So now I'm just going to go to File, Download again as a JPEG. And then go to Background on my non-editable one and drag and drop. And then click Done. So there we go. That was designing that slide, which this one takes the most amount of time. So if you're already done and you were designing along with me, give yourself a pat on the back, because that was the hardest one. All right, so now we just basically need to design 2 more style templates. So we need to design one that looks like this, and then one that looks like this. This is going to be the template for your group members, as well as your artifacts that are in each room. And then this slide is obviously what the inside of the rooms look like that they click on. All right, and by the way, I will be linking this editable version, as well as I guess I could link both the non-editable version in the description box, in case you want to play around with the shapes and such that I have already designed. And then the non-editable version, you can see, I guess, when we link the invisible, so to speak, boxes, so on and so forth. You'll see what I mean by the invisible boxes in just a second. So we'll want to create our second slide now. So our second one is going to be the names of our group members, which the office's sign will link to. And we'll also go ahead and design our little buttons that will click, that students or teachers can click to go back to the museum, and that they can click to go back to the rooms from the artifacts. All right, so we'll just click on the down arrow and we'll do a blank slide. And so you can see the background on here, I kind of matched the same scheme of the walls of using this wall texture. So you can do the same thing as well on your editable version. Like I could use this concrete background, or you can just keep it white and simple. You could create a large letterboard, but to me, I want it to look like a wall. So I'm just gonna go to background, choose image. So if you use the bricks, you could upload that. If you used just a white background, like if you just used white walls, you could do that. So let's see if I were to go to Pixabay, and let's say you had found a wall texture. Let's search for wall texture. So you could use a background like that. You could use white bricks like that if you used those on your walls on your first slide. Let's see if there's another one. There's some more. These are some smaller white bricks. This would actually be a good one to use for the walls on the first slide. There's a good one. Perfect. So let's do this one. Free download. I'm not a robot, I promise. Motorcycles. Here we go. Verify. Okay, then click download. All right, so now let's go back here, choose image. I'm just gonna drag and drop. Click done. So now you can see it's more of that wall texture. And let's see. I feel like it made it a little bit darker. I guess that was the color already. Does that not look darker to you? I feel like that's darker. So I'm gonna actually go to choose image. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. Let's go to transparent. I'm going to add this image right here. I feel like Google's making it look darker. And is that just my eyes? Maybe it's not. Anyways, so what I'm going to do, because I didn't like how dark it inserted it, I'm actually going to adjust the lightness of the picture and then just make it look like a background that way instead of uploading it. I'm just presenting it to make sure that it's covering all the edges. So I'm going to go to format options, recolor. Nope, I'm not going to do recolor. I'm going to do adjustments. So this is where I was saying I'm going to increase the brightness, maybe the contrast. I don't want it to be too bright to where it takes away from the texture on the wall, but I still want it to be a little bit lighter. So let me upload it again so you can kind of see the difference between the two. See how just by lightening the image. So I'm going to leave it like that. And then I am going to, let's look at our other one that we made. So I basically need 3 boxes. So I'm going to go to insert, oh, not a text box. Let's go to insert shape. And then I am going to do a white background with a black border, or you could do a gray border. Totally up to you and your style. And then I'm going to copy that. I am going to bring this in just a little bit. Let's say right here. And I'm copying this image and pasting it here. And then I can see these could be a little bit closer together as far as like I don't want such a big gap in the middle. So I'm just going to delete that one and I'm going to extend that one out just a little bit. And then do it that way. And then if you think those are too close, you could always select them both and resize them together and then realign this one back to the left. So that one looks good, but then I obviously need them to be a little bit longer. So I'm selecting both of them and bringing their height down a little bit. And then I could also raise that one up a bit. And then I'm also going to extend those up just a little bit. There we go. And then I just want to make sure I have all 3 of those aligned in the center and in the middle. And then you can see here, it's a text box for names of group members, describe your group here, and insert a picture of your group here. I'm not going to type those right now because you can see that this template right here with the title and the 2 boxes is the exact same template that we'll use for the artifacts. So on the editable version, I am going to leave it just like this. But we do need to design our little buttons. Right here, the return to museum and then return to room. We need to design those. All right, now I will want to bring over this letterboard onto this slide. So I'm just going to press Command C. And remember, I already grouped these earlier. So if you have not grouped them, you will want to do that to make sure they all come over together. And then I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so I can kind of work with what I have here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, let's see, I'm going to ungroup all of this in just a moment. So I'm going to go to Arrange, Ungroup, just so I can work with everything separately. This text box I'm going to go ahead and bring up because it's really long. I'm going to click on the actual square, the rectangle that's at the back, and make it a little bit wider. Actually, I bet I could do these at the same time. Yep, so I basically, let me redo that so I can walk you through that. I clicked on the actual rectangle, the black background with the gray border, and I held down the key Shift on the keyboard and then selected the lines as well. And then now I'm dragging them both out so that they go together. All right, now you won't want to do that for bringing it up because you can see when you bring it up, it's going to decrease the distance between those lines, so then it looks way too close. So I'm just doing undo. But what you will want to do, let me just go ahead and move this text box out of the way. So I'm going to click on just the background or the black box that's behind it and bring the height of that one up just a little bit. Let's do right there. So now I will want to delete the lines that I'm not using. So I'm just going to hold down Shift and click on each of these lines to delete them. All right, now I'm going to press delete so you can see it just deleted those lines. But now I want to bring my line group and I'm holding down Shift as I maneuver it. So there, now it looks a little bit more, and I'm actually going to reduce the border width on these, or on this one. All right, now I'm going to drag my text box back over to the front, and I'm going to type return to museum. And let's see, I actually can, I'm going to center that text and I'm going to enter down, and I'm going to make these just a little bit larger. And then I'm going to adjust my text box just a little bit. And I actually am going to make my font size a little bit smaller. All right, let's try this again. Like I've said multiple times, it's all about just kind of playing and experimenting with what you like best. And so you see how these match up with the lines perfectly? It bugs me that this line is still down here. So I am going to move this up just a little bit so it's out of the way. And I'm going to delete just that one line. And then I'm going to bring this box up just a little bit. And then I will move my text back down. Again, hold down Shift and use your arrow keys to get it to move slightly. If you don't hold down Shift, it makes big increments. It changes in big increments. So if you hold down Shift, you can adjust it in smaller steps. All right, so now I'm going to group these. Let me ungroup everything else, or deselect everything else. I'm gonna go to arrange and then group, and now let me zoom back out. All right, and I am actually gonna bring these two boxes up a little bit so I have room for this one. And I'm gonna put it right there. All right, so now if I zoom out back to where I can see everything, I can see if I want to maybe move this up just a little bit more, things like that. So let's click present. One tip is I wouldn't put anything that you need to click in this area because this bar gets in the way whenever you are wanting to click on it. So I would just be mindful of this presentation bar and try not to put anything down in this area. All right, so now I'm going to escape out of that. And like I said, we use this exact same template for the artifacts. So I'm just going to duplicate this slide, but instead of return to museum, I'm going to type return to room, because this would be the artifact and then them returning to the room. All right, so now we are going to design this room. So let's add, first thing, I think we can pretty much keep the floor the same. So I'm just gonna go over here and I'm gonna copy my floor and paste it back right here. I may have to widen it out just a little bit to make sure that the entire width is covered. Let me zoom out just a little bit. I can't tell if that corner is covered. All right, and then we're gonna need to add our walls. So it's pretty much the same exact concept. You're just copying your wall, or you can create a whole new shape as the trapezoid if you would like. To me, I'd rather just be able to copy and paste. So I'm going to make that just a little bit larger, and your walls in here are going to be a little bit taller as well. So again, it's kind of just playing and seeing what works best for you. Make that go up just a little bit more. All right, and then I'm just going to insert a square. And I'm actually going to bring this wall, let's see, let me copy this wall, turn it the other way, bring it back this way. Make sure that one's in the middle. I'm actually going to bring this one to the front. There we go. And then I always like to click present to make sure it looks like a room. Doesn't look a little off or anything. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. All right, and then I'm also going to copy over that little hanging sign. Oops, let me deselect those. So copy and then paste. And this sign I'm gonna have to make a little bit smaller. Maybe bring those in just a little bit. And then recenter it there. I could also just raise this up some. All right, I think that is good for that room. And so you can do the next part one of two ways. On the first one I designed these as shapes and had the shapes linked to the slides, but you could also set the shapes as backgrounds so that way the kids don't delete these. So what you'll want to do is you'll go to insert, and actually you can kind of save yourself a step. You could just copy and paste. Bring that a little bit smaller, bring it in some, adjust that a little bit. And you want it to not be so slanted because you want it to still look realistic and like it's on the wall. And then for these, I like to add a drop shadow just to give it, again, more of that realism. There we go. All right, so that looks good to me. And then I'm going to copy it, paste it, and then just turn it the other way. Or you can go to flip horizontal. All right, and then I am going to just add one more shape. And it's going to be our rectangle that's right here in the middle. Make sure that's lined up. Scoot that over just a little bit. All right, there we go. So now you are pretty much done designing as far as like the master and the backgrounds. Pretty cool. All right, the next part we are going to talk about hyperlinking the slides to turn it into a clickable presentation. All right, in this next part, we're going to talk about how you can create hyperlinks to turn it into the interactive museum that you see with this one. All right, so now what we'll want to do is download all of these slides as images, just like we did with this first one. So you'll just go through each one and then click download as, and then a JPEG image, and just continue that process. All right, then you want to go to your non-editable virtual museum and just add 3 more slides, or 4 if you didn't already add the first one. And then you'll go to background, choose image, and then just upload your images. Another thing you may want to add before you download this main slide as an image, you may want to go ahead and label your room numbers. You can totally leave them blank like this if you don't want them to say room 1, room 2, so on and so forth. But I found it so much easier to do it that way when it comes to organizing my slides. So I'm going to go ahead and label these rooms. Goodness. And then I'm just going to turn this a little bit. Put that there. I'm using my arrow keys to shift it over just a little bit. Then I'm going to turn this one. I'm actually going to put 3 on the bottom there. Make that one a little smaller. All right, then I'm going to copy this one and then just rotate it to 90 degrees. That's going to be room 4. And then put this one here. And that one is going to be room 5. You can obviously adjust the size and whatnot if you want them to be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. So I'm going to download this one as an image. And then upload it here as the background. You'll also want to add one of these to your room as well. I forgot to add one of those, so I'm going to do Command C and then Command V. And this one is going to say, yeah, we're going to leave that one as return to museum. Make sure that's in the right spot. Move it up just a little bit. All right, and then file, download as a JPEG. All right, so now you'll want to set up all of your slides before we begin any of the hyperlinking. So basically on this slide, you can see how there's like 22 slides, and I went ahead and set all of them up, such as having the main floor and then the group members and then the room and the 3 artifacts that go below each room. And I did that for each of the rooms, so you can kind of see that on the left-hand side. And that's what we're going to be doing on our non-editable version as well. So I'm going to kind of speed this part up a little bit, and then I'll come back to show you how to hyperlink. All right, and so now we're going to work on adding some of our text before we hyperlink as well. So I'm going to add right here. This is where a text box can go, and you can title it whatever museum name you want it to be. Let's say you're an art teacher, and you can say, welcome to the art exhibit, or let's say art museum. And you can obviously change your font, so on and so forth. Again, that can be whatever you want it to be. And you can even, if you're going to assign this to students, you can just type right here, insert text here, or insert name of your museum here. So that way they know where to type that. All right, and then right here, this is going to be the group member slide. So again, I'm just adding this text box, centering the text, and I'm putting the text in the middle. And I'm going to put it at, let's do 28, names of group members. We can even say type names of group members here. We can bold that, and then we can add 2 more text boxes down here. And we can say those as describe your group here and insert a picture of your group here. And you obviously don't have to put this. You can put whatever fits your style and your needs. So describe your group here. And then put this one here, and we'll say insert a picture of your group here. All right, so the text for that one is done. You can just copy this here and paste it here. Obviously, you'll need to resize it just a little bit. And for this one, you could type room 1. And what's cool is with this, you can just copy and paste this onto all the other slides. And just obviously backspace where it says 1 and type 2. So I'm going to show you an example. I just copied it, and then I'm going to paste it, and it'll paste it in that exact same spot. So once you get, like I've said before with designing, once you get like the first slide done and how you like it, or a side of a slide, it becomes pretty easy after that. It's not like you're having to create a text box on all of them from scratch all over again. All right, so this next part is going to be kind of up to you and how you want this to go for your students, and if you think your students are capable of linking and things like that. So you could totally either, with this one, when you present and you click on these shapes, they're essentially clicking on an invisible text box. So they would have to make sure that whatever they put here doesn't cover up the entire canvas. Otherwise, you won't be able to click on the shape. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say they were wanting to insert an image and it was a Texas animal. So let's just say it was a longhorn. When they insert this image, when they resize it, they've got to make sure that it doesn't cover up the entire canvas, so to speak. So let's say this one, for example. If they were to stretch it out to cover the entire canvas, when I go to present, I can no longer click to go to the slide it's linked to because I've covered up the text or the hyperlink, so to speak. So you see how right here, my mouse turns to a finger that's saying it's clickable. I can click on this. But when it's just a triangle, it's saying there's nothing to click on here. So either you would need to teach your students not to take up the entire canvas, so it would look something similar to this. So now you can see the difference between I can't click and now I can click. All right. So if you don't think your students will be able to figure that out, or if you think it's a little complex, you could always add a text box right here or something that says, click here to go to artifact 1 or click here to go to artifact 2. So that way these aren't the actual clickable links. All right, so I'm going to copy this text box and paste it onto these, and this will say artifact 1. And then below it, I will say type room name here. We can even say type artifact name here, and then type room name here. So that way it's artifact inside of room name on each slide. So that way it shows the artifact name as well as the room name that it belongs to. So I'm going to just copy this and paste it on all of my artifact slides. And I'm actually going to change these room name headers to say insert room name here because, or type room name here, because they may not want it to just say room 3, room 4. Again, if it's one group and they're wanting to put each room as different characteristics of a topic, then like I said, they could do like landforms of Texas or animals of Texas. So that way they can type the room name themselves. All right, now it's time to start hyperlinking. So basically what we're going to want to do is we're going to insert some invisible shapes. And what I mean by that is we're going to click a rectangle and we're going to make it the size of this room, but then we are going to make it transparent, and we're also going to make the border transparent. Now what we'll want to do is we're going to hyperlink this slide. So you can either do this chain link up at the top, or you can press Command K or Control K. So normally you would just paste in a link if you're wanting to link to a website, but if you're wanting to link to another slide, you're going to click this drop down and make sure you're not clicking next slide or last slide, even if it is the next slide you're wanting to link it to. And the reason why is when you actually choose the number, the slide number that you want this box to link to, it will always remember that relationship. So if you were to insert a few slides in between, it's not going to mess up the link. It'll always remember that slide. Let me show you what I mean. It's easier for me to show you than for me to just verbally explain it. So let's say I want this one to link to room 1, which is going to be slide 3. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click slide 3 and then click apply. So now watch, I'm going to just duplicate this slide over and over just for the sake of showing you. So now this slide is technically slide 6 now. If I go back, it remembered that relationship. Versus if you were to just do the next slide, that's all it's going to remember is just the next slide after it. So I'm going to delete these. And then you're just going to repeat that process. And you can copy and paste it, or you can insert a new shape. Just if you copy and paste it, obviously you have to make sure to change the link. So I'm resizing this, bringing that up, editing the link. Room 2 is going to be slide 7. All right, and then you just repeat this process for all of the rooms. Room 3 is slide 11. Room 4 is slide 15. And then room 5 is slide 19. All right, then you'll want to also make sure you link to your offices, even though this says museum rules over here. Oh, let me go back over here. Click on it, we're gonna edit, and this is going to go to slide 2. Click apply. All right, so now everything inside of this room is hyperlinked. So you can see room 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They all change to a finger, which means it is a clickable link now, as well as this says museum rules, but on the original template I created, I named it offices. All right, so now you're gonna want to add links to your other rooms. So for example, if I were to click on room 1, that's why we added this button right here, because right now there's no way for me to get back to the museum other than clicking exit and going back to the beginning, which kind of takes away from the interactivity of it all. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to insert a shape, and I'm going to do it right above this one. And this one is return to museum. Transparent, transparent. And then I'm going to hyperlink it to slide 1. Click apply. All right, same thing for this one. I'm going to add a invisible box. And then I'm going to hyperlink it to slide 1 as well. And then I can just copy and paste this one on all of my rooms. Make sure you're not doing it on the artifacts though, because those have to link back to a room. All right, so now all those are done. Now this part is a little bit tedious because you're going to have to link each of these to their own slide, 4, 5, and 6. So again, you can do what I talked about earlier where you're adding text down here and you're hyperlinking the text, or you can just add a hyperlink over this canvas, or you can do a hyperlink over the wall. So if you're doing it over the wall, you'll just kind of do the same thing of inserting a shape. We're going to do the trapezoid. Turn your trapezoid, making it a little bit bigger. Try to make sure I have it all lined up properly. And if I were you, before I link this, you could do it after too, it really doesn't matter. I would copy this on all of your rooms, just so it's one less step you have to do. All right, and then if we go back up here, we can copy it again, but this time rotate it. So now it's on this side. All right, and then we'll just paste it onto all of these rooms. All right, and then last one. And I'm making these just a little bit smaller than the seams of the walls, just so that they don't overlap at all. All right, so I'm gonna copy it and then paste, paste. All right, so now I'll need to link all of these. So I'm gonna scroll down just so I can see the slide numbers quickly. And I pressed Command K, linking this one to slide 4, apply, Command K, slide 5, apply, Command K, slide 6, apply. And actually I need to make this one a little bit smaller so it's not completely covering up. And you'll need to zoom in. You can zoom in a little bit to see where your border is and such. So that way you're not overlapping anything. So I'm actually going to copy this one and paste it and then turn off the link. Oops. And paste it onto all of these. Because you see how this link overlaps our return to museum button? We don't want that to happen. All right. Now, so I got that one linked. Is this one linked? Yes. All right, let me zoom back out just a little bit. All right, now we will want to link our return to room button. So we'll click a shape, rectangle, drag it over this one, maybe resize it just a little bit, transparent and transparent. And then we will link this one to slide 3. And then we can copy this one on all of our artifacts. So let's look at room 1 just so we can see how we've done so far. So we click on room 1, you can see I made the entire wall clickable. So if they add just the image onto here, we still have all of this white space that's going to be clickable. So we can return to museum and go back to room 1, click on artifact, return to room. So we have officially completed our first room and we will move on to the second room. All right, so Command K, slide 8, Command K, slide 9, Command K, slide 10. All right, then we move down here, insert our rectangle, transparent, and this needs to link back to slide 7, apply, and then I'm copying and pasting it onto each of these artifacts. All right, now we're on our third room. This is going to link to slide 12, slide 13, and slide 14. All right, then we need to go in here, rectangle, add that there, transparent, transparent, and we're linking to slide 11. Command C, paste and paste. All right, I'm going to do these next 2 rooms really quickly and then I'll come back. All right, if you're running into this problem where you can't see your other slide numbers, What I have found to do is zoom out even more and then try it that way. All right, now you are done. So you can click present and you can kind of play around with all of your rooms just to make sure that everything links appropriately. And the reason why I decided to hyperlink the entire wall, let me show you what it looks like. If you were to insert, if the kids are inserting an image, so let's do a Google search and let's search for Texas landform. And let's insert here, and then we're going to resize it to fit on this wall. Now when you go to present, this is no longer blocking. Yes, it is blocking part of the hyperlink, but it's not blocking all of it. So you can still see that they can click on the middle of the wall or the top of the wall. Once again, thank you all so much for watching and for designing your own virtual museum with me. And I can't wait to see the creations you guys come up with. Bye, y'all!